I'm Chris Grandison. Welcome to Xenogenesis, where I apply evolutionary behavior science to Black community issues and the hot topics of the day. And today's topic is Heightism. Why do humans discriminate in how they perceive men based on how tall they are? So we're going to watch a short video clip from that popular Pop the Balloon YouTube video show, displaying women rejecting men as potential dates and boyfriends based on the fact they are short. And then after we can go through an evolutionary perspective of why this preference is not as superficial as some would have you believe in the reaction videos they have made to how a couple of these really short women were rejecting shorter men. There is actually sound evolutionary logic that supports their preference. It's just that these women are not aware of it, and the people criticizing these women are not aware of it.
And so why did you end up popping your balloon?
Just not my type physically.
Okay. And what makes him not your type?
Probably the height, even though I'm short, but I usually don't. Just the height.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how tall are you?
I'm 5 foot.
Okay. Brian, how tall are you?
5'7".
5'7". Cool. Now, is she someone that's your type?
Definitely.
Thank
Definitely.
you.
It's a shame you popped on me. You know, and you say only because of height?
Only because of height, because you look good. I like your eyes, your
Okay.
skin tone.
All right.
Yeah.
So what's the fixation with the height?
Just because I'm just so small and little, I want someone just big.
All right. So why do you end up popping his?
The only thing is, I understand I'm short. I get that. I am pretty short, and I'm shorter, but it's just you're short too. So that's it.
Okay. And how tall are you?
I'm like 4'11".
Oh my God. Okay. And how tall are you again, Eddie?
5'9".
5'9".
Yeah.
Okay. I can't.
I know, but you see, like,
See what?
You can look over your head.
yeah, but I can't, like,
So you
look
want to
up.
like tippy toe.
So as you can see from those video clips there, one of those women was 5'1" and the other was 4'11", and the one 4'11" rejected a man who was 5'9", so he's 10 inches taller than her. So the thing is that condition is satisfied in that women like a man to be taller than them, but the other condition is, how do you stack up in comparison to other men? And that's what the women weren't really articulating, or maybe they didn't want to be rude, but maybe they just really wasn't aware of it because they're just going by the emotion and the feeling of attraction. And the attraction is, are you taller than the average man? That's where that strong attraction really kicks in with regard to height. So, but first, I want to talk about something I've talked about quite a bit here on my channel, which is status psychology. We have a status-seeking instinct within us because we build all these social hierarchies. Social hierarchies are universal in human societies with many great benefits for those in high status positions. Natural selection has given humans a status psychology designed to help us navigate all these social hierarchies that we build, whether it's a beauty hierarchy, or power hierarchy, or wealth. All of these hierarchies that we build, we have a status psychology that wants to move us to the top, if possible, in that hierarchy. But of course, they're competitive, so most people can't be at the top. Now, this psychology causes us to compare and calculate our status relative to those around us, to attempt status gains and to avoid status losses, because high status tends to promote better socioeconomic outcomes and well-being if you can move up pretty high in those hierarchies. Now, this relates to today's topic because aspects of our physique do influence the status people assign to us, and height is positively related to interpersonal dominance. Now, when I say interpersonal dominance, this is like in our social groupings, in our local area or whatever. Do we have more influence over resources and influence over other people in our local area or community or whatever? And becoming, having a level of interpersonal dominance in that grouping, that places you high up in the status hierarchies that exist there. So worldwide, taller people are seen as higher in status, more dominant, healthier, and more leader-like. However, there are benefits to male and female height. It's positively related to social status, but height the magnitude of this relationship, it's significantly stronger for men than for women. Men benefit a lot more than being taller than the average man than a woman benefits from being taller than the average woman. Um, Taller people tend to have higher incomes, higher ranks in the military. In US presidential elections, taller candidate more likely to win. Senators and CEOs appear to be taller than the average American man. In the business world, they have greater authority in the workplace. People in managerial positions are on average taller than people in non-managerial positions. Taller managers, both male and female, were perceived as being better leaders. Doesn't mean that they were, just that human beings perceive taller people as being better leaders. In one experimental study I'm thinking about, 72% of the recruiters for sales positions, they preferred the taller of the two job applicants for those sales positions. So tall stature is also perceived as a trait that displays strong physical masculinity. It's one of the traits men use to intimidate each other, along with other physical traits like, a deep voice, broad shoulders, and lean muscle mass across the upper body. But height, it's fundamental to Western ideas of masculinity. Now, generally, all of this means that short men are at a clear competitive disadvantage in sexual competition with taller men to attract the most desirable women, because part of a woman's mating psychology strongly desires a taller than average man if she can secure one. Now, this doesn't mean that short men are going without female companionship. It's just harder for them to attract them, and it will be even harder based on the mate value of the woman. So really beautiful women, a short guy is going to need to be really good at some other things, like, being really wealthy, being really funny, loyal, generous, kind. He needs to be very strong in the other areas that women find attractive in a man, because just being short, they are just less preferred as mates, because shortness is considered unattractive in men worldwide. Now, the question the evolutionary behavior scientist would want to answer is, why does this worldwide preference for the taller than average man exist? Now, in prehistoric times, being ambushed and raided by other tribes was an enduring threat, with peaceful societies being the exception rather than the rule. And this is where an evolutionist would want to look for the answer, in the Stone Age, because this is, it covered a massive chunk of human evolution, from our pre-human forms into archaic human forms, and eventually to us being Homo sapien and the forms we are in today. So that's like a 2 million year period. And this 2 million year period, we look into what was life like for human beings during that time, because this is where the likelihood of that mental adaptation to a preference for the taller than average man, that's probably where that, preference became embedded in female sexual psychology. And this prehistoric world was very much like the TV show The Walking Dead. Now, of course, there's no zombies there, but you had communities, tribes living together, groups of people, and then other humans outside of your group. They were really dangerous to encounter, just like in the TV show. When you run across people from other communities or just humans out there in the woods, might want to kill you, steal your stuff, rape you, things like that. And we do have good evidence of, intergroup conflict. Intergroup conflict has been found in more than 90% of the societies throughout human history. I mean, one of the, big chunks of evidence we found regarding how, tribes were relating to each other during this time, there have been archaeological discoveries of ancient mass human graves resulting from organized human violence in the Stone Age. And they've been found in Africa, in Europe, and in North America. And in these mass graves, you wouldn't just find, the skeletons of men who died by violence. There'd be women and children there who died by violence as well, where, there's bashed in skulls and arrow points embedded in ribs and things like that. Now, if this is the world females lived in for millions of years, it's quite understandable why women evolved to expect men to protect them from the world's most dangerous animal, and that would be the human male. In today's world, We have police forces to protect us from aggression. But throughout our ancestral history, we did not have that. Protection from dangerous men was a female-specific challenge that posed an enduring existential threat for millions of years. And in evolutionary psychology, this is called an adaptive problem, a problem that women had to create an adaptation to solve. Because this problem lasted for hundreds of thousands of years. It was a threat to their survival, the survival of their children, their reproductive success, you would say. So when you have big threats to survival and reproductive success, that's a big problem. And if it lasts for hundreds of thousands of years, then there's time to evolve an adaptation that overcomes that problem. Emotions are focused, specialized states of mind built by natural selection that help us to gain desired outcomes in particular situations by directing our behavior at those times. A quick example is someone's being rude and disrespectful to you. You get angry, and that anger directs your behavior now. That feeling directs you to be angry at this person, and they may now decide to stop being angry towards you. Could be because they care about you and they don't want to hurt you, or it could be because they're a stranger and they're concerned now, I've been rude to this person, and they may choose to become physically violent with me because I'm seeing them get angry now. But either way, you becoming angry, that emotion has now caused that problem to be solved. The person has stopped being disrespectful to you. And to solve the adaptive problem of protection, natural selection installed a feeling, this emotion of sexual attraction to taller, stronger men in the mating psychology of women. So throughout our evolutionary history, bigger men would have won more fights than smaller men and would have been less likely to be aggressively challenged by others. And this behavior in men remains true today. Big men are far less likely to be physically challenged by others because people know a big man can put a whooping on you. They can hurt you. So you don't want to mess with big dudes. So historically, choosing a taller man was the preferred choice because height has been positively associated with fighting ability, your social rank within the tribe, and physical strength. This makes bigger men better at defending women and their children. So this is why it's not just about a man being taller than a woman. Women want a man who is taller than the average man because unconsciously the desire is for that man to be superior to other men. So when you saw that woman who was 4'11" and 5'1" and whatever, and they're rejecting men who are 8, 9, 10 inches taller than them, it's not about their height relative to the woman. They're like, how do you stack up against these other men? Because I want a socially dominant man. I want, the satisfaction of that feeling of attraction to you. So there isn't a whole lot of calculation going on. It's just that feeling of attraction is stimulated when that taller than average man, maybe with some other traits too, if you want it all, yeah, he's wealthy and got a good job and smart and loyal and kind and generous, but height is one of those variables that flips that switch for sexual attraction in women. So when you add up the beneficial outcomes that taller than average men enjoy, it equals a generally higher status position in society for tall men. And higher status men are always going to be pursued at a far higher rate than men of lower social status. So when perceived this way, through the evolutionary logic of why it's quite beneficial and advantageous, it's adaptive for women to have a preference for a taller than average man. It's a no-brainer why women find height an attractive trait in men, because there are both physical and social benefits to mating with taller men, and not just in our evolutionary history, as some of those stats and things I talked about earlier in this video, even today, taller men have better socioeconomic outcomes than shorter men. So even today, I'm not saying, that's what women should do, but from the evolutionary logic of it, I don't think you can really argue with it. Taller men, statistically, they have better outcomes, and women can benefit from mating with that taller man for physically and with the social benefits that come along with that. Not just in long-term committed relationships, even in short-term hookups, there are benefits to going with the taller guy. Any questions? Go ahead and throw them in the comments. And if you got, let's say, something else, another issue you want from an evolutionary perspective, you want me to discuss it, put that in the comments, and you'll see it in a future video.